what do I think of the fight? I like Fury. I mean, Dillian Whyte, is he a guy that's strong? Can he punch? Yes. Is he big? Yes. Obviously, Fury's even bigger. But he's a big, strong guy? Yes. And I was one of the first guys to like Dillian Whyte. He had beaten a guy. He knocked out a guy named Brown or something. I can't remember, but nobody knew who he was. He was coming up. He had been knocked out by he got probably too soon. He got put in with Anthony Joshua. He got knocked out in about 5 rounds. But then he was coming back, and I saw him on some kind of like obsolete cable show, and I saw him fighting. I think his name was Brown, big guy, and he knocked him out. And I just liked him. I liked him. He was still a little raw, but I said, I like this guy. He's going to develop more. He's tough. He's strong. Goes to the body well. I like him. And since then, he's obviously
Lucas Brown.
That was it. Thank you, Ken, and thank you. He obviously has made money. He's been a mandatory again. Longer than I mean, what can I say? Longer than Noah was up in the hills, right? Again, just to make my point clear. And he's one thing about him. He got knocked out by a 40-year-old Povetkin, my former fighter. Now, he got a little reckless.
That was unfortunate for Dillian.
Yeah, he got reckless. Yep. All right. But then he came back. They did what they had to do. They got Povetkin in the ring right away, even though Povetkin was coming off COVID and most likely might not have taken a fight at 41, 42 at that point that quickly, Ken. But he had no choice. What are they going to do? They know they're at the end of their career, the end of the road. And basically, that Eddie Hearn and the people with Dillian Whyte were basically paying him a ransom of money. We're paying him whatever it took to get in the ring because they had to redeem them. They had to get the win back from that knockout loss that derailed them. They had to get it. Matter of fact, they had to get it fast because they actually thought it would put them back in the mandatory position to fight the next fight with Joshua. I think it was with Joshua, whichever champion it was. But they thought it would put them right back in that seat, and they were a little off because it didn't. It didn't because all the fights that took place, the Wilder third fight, the Usyk fight, all those fights turned out to be the ones that were going to take place because of the way the politics went, because of the way that everything did go. And now we're back to where we are. But so they didn't get back in with a champion. They thought they basically were going to take a great eraser, really, and just erase that. Like literally erase it from the minds and from the record books by coming back, knocking out a 42-year-old Povetkin who had knocked them out, and then rectifying everything right back to where they were. Don't miss a beat. Didn't quite work that way, but they did get their mandatory back. They are back now in that position where they are the mandatory for Fury. And one thing that doesn't go away, I evaluate him as a strong guy, good body puncher, aggressive, tough, good power. But he's also a guy who and he was winning the fight handily against Povetkin. I'm going to give him this one. I'm going to say he just got reckless. Okay, I'll go with it. But he got knocked cold. I'll go with it, no problem. Got hit an uppercut beautifully timed that he never saw.
And he was beating the crap out of Povetkin. Did he have him down twice?
I said that.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen him in other fights prior to that where he did get knocked out by Joshua, but we'll say that he wasn't ready for him. But
yeah,
I saw him in other fights, Ken, where he came this close to being knocked out, where at the end of the fight, somewhere at the end of the fight, he either got saved by the bell or just very fortunate that he survived, and he came, as I said, this close to being knocked out. What does that tell me? It tells me, which I said to them directly, to him and his agent when I talked to him, to be quite frank, where I've seen you in too many fights where at some point you get hit too clean with a punch that you don't see that really, really hurts you. That's dangerous. That's something that you don't want as an MO. That's something that means something. I mean, yeah, there's been fighters get hurt, blah, 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 blah. But I'm talking about a heavyweight who too often has been hurt before the night ended, before that final bell rang. You found a way to get hurt, or found a way to allow yourself to get caught. A clean punch you shouldn't have allowed yourself to get caught too often. So for me, that's hanging in the air above this fight. Part of the reason why I'm breaking it down the way I am, and I'm picking Fury. Now, having said that, he's not a walk in the park. I mean, he is a good puncher. You know, he is a game guy. He is experienced now. You know, and you would think he's hungry, you know, having waiting for this title shot again, even though he had one early in his career against Joshua. Again, when he thinks he's more primed for it, he is real in that way. I just feel that Tyson will be too fast on his feet if that's what he chooses to do, because you never know with Tyson Fury. He showed you that other dimension now against Wilder, where he could also walk you down. And that's a great option, that he could box like a lightweight, and then he could go and walk forward like a Tyson, if you will. So not too many heavyweights, not too many fighters can tell you that they have those alternate gears, that they have the capacity to be able to be that dimensional in a ring. So if he decides to box, it seems like he's too nifty, too cute, too fast, too mobile, too complete for Dillian to be able to catch up to him and beat him at that game. It seems that way. It seems like Dillian would be plodding forward, trying to get to him and getting picked off and outmaneuvered. It seems that way. Then if it went the other way into a firefight, well, I'll tell you one thing. We've already seen Dillian Whyte knocked out. I don't know if there's anyone today in the heavyweight division that can prove from their body of work that they have a better chin than Tyson Fury. I mean, you got hit with the hardest punch on the planet in Wilder, and you survived each time. I mean, yeah, you were hurt. Yeah, you were on the floor. But you survived each time that happened with that kind of Thor's hammer punch hitting your freaking chin, and then you knocked him out twice. So I don't know anyone who's had a better tested chin than Fury to say that you would think he'd survive Dillian Whyte's punch, and he's a good puncher. So at the end of the day, the only thing that I think could be sort of a fly in the ointment of a win for Fury would be that if Fury mentally goes to a bad place, which you never know. I mean, there's a guy who at one time was suicidal. I give him all the credit in the world. I mean, I give him more than credit. I give him respect, admiration, love for showing people out there that are in difficult places in their life, dark rooms in their life, if you will, that you shouldn't quit. You shouldn't give up on life. You can come back. That as long as, the only way you can't come back is if you quit on life. Otherwise, you always have a chance to come back. There's a guy who came back from the brink of thinking suicidal thoughts, which no human being should ever have to think. And he comes back and has the success and the kind of life that he has now. He's a great story. He is a great example for people that have suffered with mental health, with depression, with those things. He really is. He's a hero for some of those people. That's how much I think of him. And he's a genius in the ring, to be honest. But he's still crazy. And I say that, in a loving sort of way. I do. He's a guy who's very emotional. He's a guy who obviously can be conflicted. He's and we hope he's still in a good place. It seems like he is, and that mentally, emotionally. But with that background, that's the only, as I said, the only possible fly in the ointment of an upset here, that he's not right mentally, that maybe he's gotten enough of a fill, if you will, of the success, the extraordinary success that he's had enough, and that it doesn't mean as much, and that he could get caught sleeping a little bit. I don't know. But my job is to put out the possibilities, and that's what I'm doing. If that happens, then yeah, maybe there's a chance for an upset. But other than something along that line, something down those roads, you have to like Fury for all the reasons I said.